Yeah.
Oh, live. We're live. Hello. We're putting our phones on. Do not disturb.
What?
This is Candor with Katie. Now, Jason and I have done podcasts before, which we'll talk about in a minute, but this is Candor with Katie. This is Jason Freemo, who is
What's up?
lender extraordinaire. So I'm going to
I
run
like it.
the intro, right? Oops. Hi. And then we'll be right back. It's Candor with Katie. Boom. Let's do this. There's Jason. Hello, everybody. How's it going?
What's going on?
What's going on, Jason? Your background's blurry. You're looking pretty fancy over there.
I know. I'm trying to, I'm putting out the vibe. It's too powerful. So it blurs everything out.
I can change our brand. Remember, check this out. We have a podcast that Jason and I never stay consistent on. This was the first thing I did. What? And then I have this one. You can kind of see.
I like that one.
Yeah, I like this one too, because then it doesn't put a big box in your face.
Right. That's cool. Whatever you like. Whatever you like, host. Hostess with the mostest.
Right? Okay, so I don't usually do real estate ones on here. This is funny because I should do them more often, you know? I feel like my head's really, I'm like way in here. What do you like better? Which view do you like better? This one?
Which one do you like? Do you like that one?
This one. The Zooms where people do that, it makes me laugh.
Yeah.
Or their heads are like really tiny way back here. Okay. All right. So this topic is a really hot topic right now, and there's a lot of misconceptions about it. So we're going to try and keep it short, but there's a lot of, we want to talk about this because, and then I want to ask you too, Jason, if this is going to affect lenders also, which I don't think it will, because everybody, not as much, because everybody needs a lender. Not everybody thinks they need an agent, a real estate agent. So, so this is the NAR lawsuit. Jason, I think you're probably better at putting it in a nutshell than I am.
Sure. Okay. So let me nutshell it. Right. So what has happened is there's been a lawsuit that has been levied against the National Association of Realtors, and they are alleging, collusion to basically keep commissions artificially high. That's the lawsuit. The National Association of Realtors entered into a settlement agreement where they did not admit any wrongdoing, but what they have agreed to do as terms of the lawsuit. Traditionally, what has happened in MLS, whenever you go to sell a home,
which is the multiple listing service, by the way.
Right. So whenever you go to sell a home, Katie comes in, and Katie's going to tell you what it is that you need to pay in commission. She'll tell you that number is probably 5.5%, something like that. So first thing, before we get too far, whatever it is that you read, they'll say the typical 6% commission. That's false. It hasn't typically been 6% in a long time. That number has been coming down. In fact, it's more often closer to 5% these days. So whatever.
It's been 5% for me for a long time.
So what has happened is they usually will split that 5%, where they'll give 2.5% to the buyer's agent, and 2.5% that the seller's agent is going to make. So when your seller's agent says we charge 5%, they're not making all of that, because they're going to pay 2.5% to the buyer's agent, who's going to bring buyers to that house. So what this lawsuit does is it changes that to where now the seller's agent may not advertise a commission to the buyer's agent, not in MLS.
Okay, so here's the funny thing. Okay,
yes.
Go ahead.
Well, so the way that it's worked, right? So what would happen in that scenario, Katie lists a house, and she would put in MLS, hey, if you bring a buyer to look at my seller's house and we put it under contract, we'll pay you 2.5% commission and it closes, to that buyer's agent. She's not allowed to put that anymore. And so what it means is that when buyers are now shopping for homes, they have to ask the seller, because it won't be posted on MLS, if they will pay them or pay the buyer's agent for bringing that buyer. And if so, how much will they pay that buyer's agent? So it's no longer automatic as part of the deal. That's
so it's
probably the
interesting.
easiest way to get there.
It is an easy way to describe it, but it sounds what a lot of listers, people that are selling their homes, are going to think is that they don't have to pay buyer's agents anymore, and buyers are going to think that they have to pay a buyer's agent. Now that might be something, but that I don't know if there's potentially things that could be rolled down the pike where that could be rolled into the cost of their loan or something. But we all first-time home buyers, they don't have a lot of extra money. So the thing is, commissions have always been negotiable, and it's always been that. It's always been like, so a lot of people are, it's like, it's not apples and oranges, but someone will say, well, it's the listing agent that gets the money and decides what to give the buyer's agent. Well, yes, but a good agent would actually split that equally, okay? And if you are going to give a discount to a seller, you take the discount yourself. You don't give it to the buyer's agent, right? So really, it's exactly the same. I don't understand why it's the big deal that we can't advertise it on the MLS anymore, because here was the thing. They were accusing people of steering buyers. Like if you could do a search in the MLS as an agent and it could show you based on commissions, okay, 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, whatever. And then potentially an agent could not show these homes because they wouldn't get paid as much. But the same thing could happen if it's not advertised on the MLS, because the agent's going to have to call that listing agent and ask them if there's a commission. So now how is that protecting a buyer from knowing or not knowing what the agent's doing? Right? So,
well, I mean, here's the thing. It's like anything. The intention behind what they're doing is noble. I'd like to give them credit. What they're hoping that they're going to do is increase competition and lower costs. That's what it is that they're trying to do. The problem with it is they don't really understand how the industry has functioned. So you end up with this law of unintended consequences. And there are going to be people that end up paying for this. So one of the things that I see out there a lot in a lot of these articles that I've read, where everybody's, trying to dissect, like, what is this going to mean? A lot of the speculation is, hey, this is going to save consumers billions of dollars. And that's not necessarily true. And I'll give you an example. Let me just give you an example of where that's not the case. Katie, you and I have worked many times with first-time home buyers, people who have been looking to purchase a home. And some of those buyers we've had to show 20, 25 homes to. I mean, how many clients have you put in your car and driven around and taken, I mean, golly, 40, 50 hours walking through homes just trying to find something that they like, right?
Yeah.
Well, imagine now having that first-time home buyer. So you're talking about a lower price point that's really competitive. A lot of people are trying to buy it. And now you're trying to put an offer in, and you're trying to negotiate, hey, what is the seller going to pay for me to represent this buyer bringing in? Let's say that the seller decides, or read some of these articles and say, hey, we're not going to pay the buyer's agent. Your buyer has to pay for that. Well, what happens is that buyer who we have helped before, who did not have to come out of pocket to pay for your service, now they might have to come out of pocket to pay for your service. And the thing that's really hard is a lot of those, especially low-income households, those first-time home buyers, they might not have the cash sitting on the sidelines that they can just give, a check or give money to their buyer's agents to help represent them. And so while the concept is good, there is a potential here where it's going to cost people more money out of their pockets, and it may result in people not getting representation when they need it buying a house.
Yeah. So, and part of part of that problem is too that I think it's kind of unfortunate. There's always change, right? And we can always adapt, but it's just that many people don't understand the role of a real estate agent, I think. So we do a lot of work too. We only get paid when the house closes. So I've had people that I've taken around 30 homes or more, and then they just decide whether it's true or not to tell me, well, we're just going to rent, or we decide not to buy, which is fine. That's their prerogative, but I don't get paid for that time. So if you really broke it down.
Let me point out something I think is really, let me point out something. Not only do you not get paid, but you've spent money on gas, on everything involved. Like, you have an expense that you lay out for those customers that you don't recoup that until you actually close the house. You make an investment in people before you ever even get paid.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I think the biggest thing that's the change that everybody is like in a big buzz about. So regardless of the fact that it's advertised on the MLS or not, an agent should still be paid. We're just going to have to figure out how that's going to work. Okay. Right. But the biggest thing now is that we have to sign a buyer broker agreement. And I never had someone sign that before. However, I just had a situation where I went up to Prescott and showed someone houses and spent 3 nights up there. I borrowed your truck for 2 days. And then that person said, oh, well, my husband found an agent in Prescott. So we kind of want to go with someone that lives up there, which a local agent, that's antiquated now. And you live up there, so I have plenty of knowledge. And so had I had a buyer broker agreement, that might have changed. So the buyer broker agreement basically ties you to that agent. Now, some agents in the past have used that as, if you don't end up buying and closing a home with me, you will pay me for my proven time that I have dedicated to you, which that could be a thing too. I've never done that. But I think now for me, I guess a buyer broker agreement would probably be a good idea, because when that happened to me, I felt devalued.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too. I think that people need to, our heads are just too big like that. People need to understand that an agent does really provide a lot. So I have a friend that lives in another state that just went through the process of buying a house and told me, wow, I just had no idea. I have so much more respect for what you do now. Same thing with lending. So what do you see as the biggest, so what do you think buyers need to know? Like a first-time home buyer.
I think the most important thing that buyers need to know is that they still really need the help of a real estate agent. I was talking to somebody from my company yesterday. They're in the process of trying to buy a home right now, and it's not easy. There's still not a lot of inventory on the market. It's hard to find, the house that you're looking for. This person with his daughter has been looking at homes. They've looked at 40 homes, put in multiple offers, and haven't been able to get a single one. So that's still happening. So if you want to buy a home, it's important that you have somebody that's going to advocate for you, somebody that's going to set up those appointments for you to see the home, somebody who can negotiate on your behalf, somebody who can take care of you, to make sure, that you don't get into a house, and find out later, oh my gosh, I didn't know that, or I wish somebody would have told me, or, with a purchase as large as a home, it's not like going to Walmart and, picking out a blanket, right? Like you buy a blanket, it's good, it's not good, whatever, you go get it. You're not going to have too much buyer's remorse whenever you purchase a blanket. You buy a $450,000 home and you find something out after the fact that, you could have had somebody help you with that you didn't know. It might have materially affected your decision. And unwinding a $450,000 investment is no small thing, right? So the thing that I would say, to your point, what do buyers need to know? Buyers need to know that they still need to work with real estate agents. And here's what I'd say that sellers need to know. Sellers need to take a page out of the book from home builders. Now, home builders have been playing this game for a long time already. And one of the things home builders have been famous for doing, they will be bumping along and all of a sudden they'll say, we're not going to pay, a buyer's agent, even if they bring them to their place, we won't pay a buyer's agent. And here's what happened to those home builders when they do that. Their houses, they sit and they don't sell. They don't sell because, agents don't bring people to those home builder places because they're not going to get paid to bring them there. So if you're listing your house and you want your house to sell, you need to have the widest market that you can possibly have. So even if you don't have to advertise that you're going to compensate a buyer's agent for bringing their buyer to you, you still need to plan to be able to do that because you want people to purchase your home and you want as many real estate agents interested in showing your home as you can. And so if those home sellers are inclined to do things the way that those home builders have done in the past. And here's what's funny. All of those home builders that do that, they always come back with their hat in their hand.
Yeah.
They send emails to you. They pick up the phone and call you and they say, hey, we're really sorry. We didn't mean it. In fact,
no, what they do is they come back and they pay you more in compensation because they know that they've ticked everybody off.
So, so at the end of the day, what will change? It remains to be seen. We don't know. But the tenets of buying a house are still the same. There's negotiation. There always has been. There is now. It's a negotiable piece, right? With buyer, seller, all that type of stuff. But real estate, as it always has been, is a function of supply and demand. It's always a function of negotiation. It's a function of, investing in something that's so large. So whether you're a seller or whether you're a buyer, you're still going to need that representation. And so all of that stuff is going to remain the same. And I think that's the most important thing for the customer to remember.
The biggest thing I think, and it just popped in my head, we're one of the states that don't have to use lawyers through a buying process. There are states that have to use lawyers. So the problem with people thinking they don't have to pay agents anymore is that the potential of liabilities is innumerable. I mean, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. Their agents will protect you. And that's why we are a part of the NAR. And I was listening to a Tom Ferry thing, and he said, don't quit the NAR. They still are there. We are protected through this lawsuit. So don't just get mad at them and go, that's it, my membership is up. You're still protected under them, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing, is that I just lost my train of thought, because I totally just lost my train of thought. What did I say? It popped in my head. It's ADD. Huh?
Yeah. Well, you were talking about, NAR protects you,
but before that, anyway, it was the whole thing. It was just, the liabilities, because now there's going to be, there could be potentially agents that want to represent both sides, which is a dicey area. It can be done. It's been done, right? But it's dicey. I mean, how do you provide your fiduciary duty to both sides when you know things about both sides?
I think that's the hard part about it. Well, I mean, look, personally, if I were a seller, Katie, and I hired you to sell my house, which I have done,
yes,
and you're fantastic at it. You're the best that there is,
like,
right? But yeah, right. See, you know what? It was like that when we sold. It was exactly like that.
It was.
But here's the thing: if I'm hiring you, I want you. I don't want you to call me back and say, "Hey, I brought somebody, but I have to represent their interest too." I don't want that. I mean,
that's true. I mean, I've represented both sides. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the bottom line is a good agent knows what they're doing.
That's right. I think so. Well, and here's the other thing too. This was one of my favorite exercises in this whole thing, because again, everybody's got opinions on this. There's a rush to overreaction. Again, there's a lot that even we don't know, having this conversation, but somebody had done a fun exercise and they said, hey, let's hypothecate one of these scenarios. Let's just pretend that's the case. And that was the idea that, hey, buyers are going to be less inclined to use a buyer's agent, and they're just going to call listing agents directly. I've heard people talk about that. Well, let's break that down a little bit. All right. So what does that mean? That means I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to call every single real estate agent and play phone tag so that I can set my Saturday up to go and look at 4 or 5 different houses. So, okay, I'm okay taking that inconvenience. I'm going to go do all that type of stuff, but that's going to take me time. Then I'm going to have to arrange, because I don't have a lockbox key, so I got to figure out how to get in it. So if I'm running late and I don't get there on time, and now the listing agent says, hey, I'm sorry, I had you scheduled for this time, I'm not going to be able to see that house because I just can't get by whenever I feel like it. So seeing houses is going to be very, very difficult to arrange, because as a buyer, you don't have lockbox access. Then once that piece is done, then you get to the point of writing a contract. Buyers don't have contracts. So what are you going to do? You're going to go to the seller and ask the seller to do that. They're going to be talking to you about terms like an inspection, a BINSR, all these different things that you don't know. And then what happens when you get your inspection done, right? And all of a sudden you see all these different things on it, and you don't have anybody that can walk you through what that means and what you should do with it. Katie, how many times do you and I on the phone talk about, hey, what it is that we should ask for? What should we not? Well, if I'm going directly to that seller's agent's probably going to tell me, hey, none of this stuff's a really big deal. Like, this is a great house, you should buy. Like, so now all of a sudden, all of those things that could be major issues, water heaters, air conditioners, all those different things, I'm having to decipher my own inspection report, figure that piece out. Then when the appraisal comes back, Katie, have we ever had an appraisal come back low?
My own appraisal for my own house came in low.
And what do? We negotiated
$29,000 low.
And we got a great deal, because why? We're negotiators. We know how to. Exactly. So what are you going to do? You're going to negotiate that yourself. Then here's what happens. Here's another fun thing. What happens when you're in the middle of the process and something changes, and maybe you're working with a lender that's not named Jason, but you're working with another lender and they don't close your loan on time, right? And now you're sitting here. What do you do about extensions? What do you do about being in breach of contract? What do you do if that listing agent issues you a cure notice and tells you, hey, I'm going to keep your earnest money if you don't, like, all of these different things that your real estate agent does. And by the way,
this is really what we should have been talking about the whole time.
Yeah, look, I've only named 25% of what the buyer's agent really does for the buyer, but you're signing up to take all of those things on and be an expert in all of those different things. So again, when you start thinking through like, hey, this is logistically what it looks like if this is the case, you realize very quickly, man, that just doesn't seem very practical. And so that's why I think that what will end up happening is the business will continue. It's going to find a sense of normalcy. We're just going to have to sort it out. But buyers agents aren't going anywhere. Listing agents aren't going anywhere. And I think what's going to happen, this is my prediction, because I do think I'm doing all the talking. Sorry, Katie, but I do think that there is on some basis this anti-realtor bias that I've seen. There's this idea, right, that realtors are overpaid or this or that or the other. I think that realtors get taken for granted. And my prediction is that the legacy of this lawsuit is that it's going to demonstrate to the consumers just how valuable that real estate agent is. When you change it and you start talking about taking away some of the services that they provide or figuring out that type of deal, you're going to find out just how important that real estate agent is. So people think that real estate agents are getting devalued through this legislation. I'm going to take the opposite side. I think that people are going to find out, and they're going to be looking back 6 months from now, and they're going to be going, oh my goodness. Yeah. Real estate agents do a lot of stuff for us, and we really, really need to appreciate them more than what we do. That's my opinion.
And I do recommend that if you are buying a house and I'm not your realtor, just really spend time with your realtor and get the deets on everything that they're doing and every step of the process, because it's important. And then you'll realize, how much people do. There was something, everything leaves my brain. There was something I was going to say when you were saying all of that. So in most people's minds, sellers don't have to worry because they're going to have someone representing them all the time. Buyers may think that they don't need an agent. But I think, like you said, like once it starts going, and I said previously, we can all adapt. Like the right agents will remain, and it will still be fine, and we can figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
I mean, it's just a matter of like just doing things a different way. So you can't advertise it on the MLS. I had heard on the Tom Ferry thing too. You can't go through other avenues. Like you can't create your own Facebook group or do something like that and be like, hey, I'm paying my agents 2.5% or whatever. But you can put it on your website.
Mm-hmm.
So there's other ways. And plus realtors are calling every time I am scheduling houses. So even if it's 10 houses, I'm calling all 10 agents before I do that. And I'm talking to them before I make that schedule. And so I'm irritated when they don't call me back because I'm trying to find out all the details and get all the things. But it's the same thing. If you're a realtor that does that, and you're just going to call them and you're going to find out.
Katie, I want to ask you, how often does that happen? You call a listing agent and they don't call you back?
It happens a lot.
I'm
an agent.
Now, can you imagine you're not a real estate agent and you're trying to arrange to go see this house and you're calling and they won't return your phone call?
Yeah. Oh, that's what I was going to do. This tiered thing. So I don't know where the regular people are going to get the contracts or whatever. And so we'll revisit this later because I know we're already at 23 minutes, but there's a potential of, and they've already been doing this. Companies have already been doing it like a tiered experience. So I'm going to pay you this amount just to list it on the MLS. I'll pay you this amount to list it on the MLS and do pictures, and you can negotiate the contract or whatever. So there's a potential of that as well, which could keep people in the game. Who knows? I didn't like that when it's coming from companies like the big companies, like don't pay an agent, just pay us. And and basically all they do is list it on the MLS because that pushes it out to all of the other sites like Zillow and Realtor and all that. And then everybody can see it, Mm-hmm. So you still need to put it on the MLS. So you still have to use an agent for that.
And let's be honest, you need to have a person involved, right? Like, again, right? Let's not forget when we're buying houses, when that's what it is that we're doing, it's an emotional experience. You can't tell me it's not, because I've seen people cry tears of joy when their house closes. I've seen people cry tears of terror, when something goes wrong. Like, it's a very emotional experience when you're making a purchase that large. This is where it is that your kids are going to sleep. This is where it is that you're going to open Christmas presents. You know, this is where you're going to get up on Easter morning. We're about to celebrate that this weekend, right? This is where, you know, during the summers, you're going to have vacations and you're going to have sleepovers. I mean, everything happens in the home. And if you think that this process is going to happen impersonally with an impersonal company that isn't like, you know, part, Katie, of your benefit when you're going through as a buyer's agent and you're calling all of those listing agents and you get them on the phone. And I know how it is that you work, right? The pride that you have for the customers that you represent. And you talk about, oh my gosh, I've got this beautiful family and they've got this wonderful daughter and they love this bedroom. This is so cute. They'd like it. You're building that connection personally, right? And that matters when it comes to buying that house, because you might not be the only buyer that's interested in that house. There might be 2 or 3 others that are willing to pay the price. I've seen you time and time again get those contracts accepted over other agents. Impersonal services where it's just a pay for service type thing it doesn't work. So look,
I don't know if we've covered everything we needed to, but bottom line is communication is key. And if you can't communicate with someone to get into a home or to offer a contract, like I've offered contracts before and not heard back from a listing agent. Like, so I get frustrated because then I can't represent my clients better, you know. But if you're a buyer out there trying to do it, I mean, it's communication is key. And I think if we all just stay in this together and we stay on the positive side, you know, this is not a death sentence.
No,
it's not like it's going away, and sellers can still pay both sides. It just can't be advertised on the MLS.
That's right. That's all. That's the only difference. So let's just see what happens, right?
Yeah. Well, Jason, you know, been meaning to tell you this for a very long time. Do you have any final thoughts, by the way?
I do. I do have some final thoughts. My final thoughts are, you're the best real estate agent. Keep killing it, no matter what it is that NAR does. And my second thought is, you have extremely fantastic footwear.
I'm wearing socks with flip-flops.
Show everybody. Do it.
56 degrees. They're shamrocks.
Look at that. What did I say? Got the best socks. Final thoughts. I love your socks, friend.
Jason, I love your socks. Have an awesome day. Stay on here for a second. Bye, everybody. Oh, wait, we got a comment finally at the end. Oh, great job. I'm so glad you did this and shared, because so many are confused. Yay, thanks, Sonia. Have you ever worked with Sonia?
No, I haven't.
She used to work with me at Epic a long time ago, and then she moved to, I think you live in Vegas, right, Sonia? But she's works in some different places, so that's good.
Very cool. Yeah.
So that's from an agent. Thanks, Sonia. Yay.
That's great.
And if you guys have more questions, obviously,
put
them in the comments and we will answer.
We're good like that. We jam like that.
Yeah, you know it. All right, we'll talk to you later. Bye. Oh, wait, another one. Oh, yep, in Vegas. Okay. I wish we would have had all these comments at the beginning. Okay. Bye, everybody.
See ya.